The fighter, in addition to being one of the most popular classes in 5th edition D&D, is also one of the oldest classes. This is the person who essentially you can put any weapon in their hand and they know how to use it, and they know how to use it well. And if you look at the new player's handbook, the fighter and I think the ranger, they are sort of neck and neck in just the number of brand new features that they get in this book.
Right.
All the baseline goodies are still there, extra attack and it increasing, action surge, etc. This is just how much that is brand new in the fighter.
Right.
That is being joined with the features that the class had before. First off, of course, weapon mastery, brand new. Also, fighters now get a feature called Tactical Mind, which allows them to expend uses of their second wind when they fail an ability check to roll a die, add it to that check, and try to turn their failure into a success. Now, we were able to introduce this new feature because we also enhanced second wind so that fighters can now use it more often than they used to be able to.
Right.
And as fighters go up in level, their number of second wind uses increases, which means not only do they now have more uses to use on their self-healing, which is what second wind could do previously, but now they can also use it on Tactical Mind to try to turn, again, failed ability checks into successful ones.
And that's very much on theme with fighters. Like, they persevere, and it may not just be to like heal up and get into the fight again. It may be to like you're trying to grasp for something, or you're trying to do this one thing with the last bit of strength in you.
Absolutely. And also Tactical Mind is part of our effort to give the fighter also some special capability in situations that might not be combat. Most of the fighters' abilities are naturally combat-oriented. It's in the name. Yeah. They're all about fighting. But nonetheless, we, in every class, as we revisited it for the new player's handbook, made sure that every class had something that they could bring to the table also outside combat. And so Tactical Mind is a big option there, again at level 2. At level 5, they get Tactical Shift. Now, this allows them, whenever they use their second wind as a bonus action to regain hit points, to also move up to half their speed without provoking opportunity attacks. We wanted fighters, as the battlefield tacticians, to have a bit of an easier time moving around the battlefield, especially when they're in danger. And so that's why this is connected to second wind, that, you know, those times where the fighter is like, uh-oh, we want the fighter to be able to tactically reposition themselves, whether they need to do that to save themselves or move themselves into a better position to protect their allies, because some fighters are built as tanks, but then other fighters are built as archers, as skirmishers. Part of the beauty of the class is that you can build a fighter to fill many different tactical roles. Level 9, they get Tactical Master. You can see a theme here, since each of these new features has the word tactical in it. We have, Tactical Mind, Tactical Shift, and now Tactical Master. Tactical Master at level 9 lets the fighter, whenever they are using a weapon and are using that weapon's mastery property, lets them replace that property when they strike with the weapon with the push, sap, or slow mastery properties, which basically means the fighter always, once they reach level 9, always has those 3 mastery properties in their pocket.
Yeah.
And so whatever mastery property is on the weapon they're using, they always know, okay, if in a pinch I need one of those other 3 mastery properties, I can invoke it. And this is a replacement of a feature we experimented with in Unearthed Arcana that was allowing fighters to completely switch which mastery properties were on their weapons. We found that not only was that not super popular in the UA series, but it was also on the back end in our development creating a number of headaches for the system down the line. So that is no longer present. Instead, we felt both in our development and in our playtesting, it was far more preferable and fun to just give the fighter these 3 properties that the fighter could just say, nope, I'm going to use this one now, regardless of what the mastery property is on the weapon that I'm using.
I, again, being obsessed with the Battlemaster, all of those weapon mastery abilities for those weapons can stack and layer on to your battle maneuvers all at the same time.
Yes.
So there are some really juicy combinations. If you're a Battlemaster, you're using a maneuver, you can use an additional effect from that weapon. And now you have this massive toolbox of combinations that you've never had before.
Exactly. So the Battlemaster's mini game of deciding which maneuver to use at any point just became an even more intricate mini game because you're figuring out which maneuver to use paired with which weapon mastery.
If you want to like stack, pushing an opponent a little bit with one of your maneuvers and then also stacking the weapon mastery to push an opponent even further, you can get up to some really nasty business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At level 13, the fighter gets a feature that I've actually been wanting to give fighters for years called studied attacks. And this gives the fighter advantage on their next attack roll against a target if they miss them. With this idea, again, of fighters being the battlefield masters, like they're sizing up their opponent.
Yeah.
And you can imagine it with the fighter more than anyone else of like, well, I missed you this time, but I just figured out something about you. And so I'm going to have a better chance of hitting you next time.
Right.
And you can see this sort of starting to snowball and can be a lot of fun. Fighters then at level 19 also get a new feature that all classes now get at level 19 that replaces the ability score improvement that they had at that level, and it is the Epic Boon feature. And this is the feature that unlocks for fighters, as well as every other class who gets this feature, the ability to choose an Epic Boon feat. Now, the fighter, like everyone else, also has the option of choosing a non-Epic Boon feat at this level. It's just like when you choose, or rather when you're given ability score improvement, you have the option of taking that or another feat. Same here with Epic Boon. But I think you're going to want to choose the Epic Boon feat because the Epic Boon feats, they not only include an ability score increase in them, but that increase can go past the normal maximum of 20.
Yeah.
And they include abilities that really go beyond what feats can normally do. And there's a reason why these feats are not available until 19th level. Like one of them, just as an example, and it's particularly relevant to the fighter's interests, is one of the Epic Boon feats is called the Boon of Combat Prowess, which allows you, when you miss, to just decide you hit. And you can do this. You can do this only once per turn, but my goodness, is that good?
Yeah.
And the Epic Boon feats, there's another one where you now have true sight, meaning within a certain range, you can see anyone who's invisible.
What their actual form truly
is. You can see through illusions. Really powerful. We have another Epic Boon where when you take the attack action or the magic action, hey, you can also teleport. So you can see how these Epic Boons, once you reach level 19, can really supercharge how your character functions as they near the end of a normal D&D character's career. Now, I put it that way because we also include rules in the new player's handbook that if your DM wants you to keep playing at level 20, you can go beyond the power that characters normally have once they sort of reach the ceiling or reach the level cap. Because now, every time you hit a certain amount of XP, you can pick another one of these epic boon feats, or another feat if you so choose, meaning if you play at level 20 long enough, you could conceivably get one of your scores all the way up to 30, meaning that at that point you are truly god tier.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome.
And again, that epic boon goodness is something that every character is going to have access to. Now with the fighter, I'm going to loop all the way back to the beginning before we dive into subclasses to touch also on some enhancements in existing features. I already mentioned that Second Wind now has more uses than it used to have.
Right.
But also the baseline fighting style feature that fighters get has been enhanced. And it's been enhanced in several ways. First off, there are new fighting style options that weren't present in 2014. There's now blind fighting, interception, thrown weapon fighting, and unarmed fighting. Each of these made their debut in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and they've now graduated into the player's handbook, and they have been adjusted to now be fully at home with all of the other options in this book. We've also improved the protection option that was present before, and you can also, and this is a biggie, you can also now change the fighting style that you chose every time you gain a fighter level. It used to be that you would choose it and
that was it.
That was it for the rest of your career. We've now given the fighter the ability every time they level up to change their mind. They might decide, I've been more of an archer than a frontline warrior, and so I want to change what fighting style feat I'm using.
And that's something I also enjoy about Weapon Mastery as well, is that you mentioned several times that you can go through training drills and adjust.
Yes.
Yeah, you can train up on a different weapon and a different,
And that is a key piece of the fighter's weapon mastery feature. And the other weapon mastery features is exactly that. Yeah, that you pick the weapons that you unlock, but then you can change them.
Yeah.
And this is all about us giving players more ways to explore different parts of the game and not feel that they make a choice and they're stuck with it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Now, there are certain choices that, they're for the character's life, unless something extraordinarily magical alters something. Like, for instance, most characters' species will never change, although, they might be reincarnated, and that could certainly change their species. Similarly, most characters never change their class, although they might delve into another class via multiclassing. But within some of these big choices that usually remain true throughout a character's career, we've looked for ways to give people more avenues to explore different options in the game. In a way, the fighter, to me, finally is truly the sort of weapon master equivalent of the wizard in terms of flexibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
The wizard, who is not actually our biggest damage dealer when it comes to spells, but the wizard has the most versatility when it comes to spells.
Yeah.
And fighters now have that kind of versatility with weapon use, with tactical options. But we've also made it so that you get to determine how deeply you go into the amount of choice, because that's a big part of your subclass decision. And the 4 subclasses that are in the fighter represent not only 4 different thematic directions that a fighter can go in, but they also represent different levels of complexity, and in some ways, different levels of sort of mechanical idiosyncrasy. And this is something that we will return to when we talk about the other classes, because when we look at the classes, rather the subclasses that each class gets, and when we were choosing the 4 subclasses for every class in the new player's handbook, we're always looking for different levels of complexity, and then also different levels of idiosyncrasy, because we wanted to make sure that each subclass represented a different play style, a different theme, and a different level of complexity.
The New Player's Handbook is available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond. You can find that link in the video description. And you can also find the new Core Rulebooks bundle for pre-order, both physical and digital. Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video content coming out about the New Player's Handbook and all the new Core Rulebooks, the new Monster Manual, the new Dungeon Master's Guide. So be sure to check out all of that content. And thank you for watching.